Dave Lieber, and that really was me falling off the stage at Keller High School in 1998. And we did make America's Funniest Home Videos, although we didn't win the grand prize. But in that century and a half that Keller, Texas has existed, I don't think there's been a community theater until now. Stand Performing Arts Center Ministries has opened up in Keller, and we have with us today the new director of the Renee Norris, and I'm with Kelvin Dilks, the actor from Amon the Ultimate Texan, and our play is going to be performed at the theater, right, Kelvin, in a couple of weeks. And Renee, welcome to the show, and tell us how Stand started.
Well, I would love to tell you how it started. And we're also located right around the corner from Keller High School. And it is thrilling to be the first community theater in Keller. So Stand started in 2005 with my dear friend, Jessie Beebe. We're college buddies, and she began as Kid Stand, a real focus on children getting to the foundation is created to create, and the belief that we are made to stand up, stand strong, and stand out. And she created this theater as an outlet for children, an opportunity to go around the world and to use the performing arts as a way to express their faith. And it just continued to grow. And post-COVID, the numbers just kept growing. And that's when she brought me in as artistic director. And we have been able to build the organization into a full-time community theater where we were performing shows all over the DFW area, anyone who could host a production, so that we could have adult community theater shows, children's shows, performing events. We're now in our own space, and we're even growing out of our new space, come to think of it. Soon we'll be presenting our next season, and it's about 18 productions. So where our daytime are focused on homeschool classes, and our evenings are full of rehearsals and training in singing, dancing, acting. The weekends are productions and community events.
Amon Carter, the hero of our play, said that you can't have a top-rate city without a top-rate museum. And the same thing applies to community theater. You can't have a top-rate community without having their own theater group. So this is a major milestone, I think, in the history of Keller, and I hope people appreciate it. But the number one problem so far is we have to tell them where you are and what you're doing, because I don't think anybody really knows yet since you're so new in Keller. So where are you, and how do you?
That's true. So we're on Keller Pkwy, and we're located next to Venture Church. And we're in the hub of so many incredible home-owned restaurants and boutique stores, and right between I-35 and South Lake.
Okay. Kelvin, do you remember when you went and visited them and you told me that we were doing this play? It seems like it was like yesterday, but it was like months and months ago.
Yeah. And what I always tell people that tends to help people locate it, I said, it's right behind the Taco Casa.
Yes.
Yeah. And they go, oh, okay, I know exactly where it is. So
Taco Casa.
Yeah.
So how many plays are you putting on in your first year?
We are about to produce about 18 new plays in 2026.
Wow.
And we went from, I think Jessie and her beautiful team that I've just recently joined had about 4 shows at first for children, and then she brought me in as an adult theater teacher, and I started the acting classes for adults that grew into adult productions. And then we just started hiring more and more directors, and we've had about 4 adult shows this year, and now we have children's shows, adult shows, and combination of both. And I think we've produced about 12 shows in 2025 season.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what's the physical plant like? You walk in and there's the lobby area, and then how does it all set up?
It feels like a community center, because you can't go to Stand on a Monday and it look the same on a Tuesday. There's so many different things happening each day of the week. So when you walk in, there might be walls up for a hip hop class and an acting class, and then in the theater there may be another class happening, and then the walls might move and we have a rehearsal in the lobby. The lobby can become a cafe experience. It's going to become a market for a couple of shows so that community members can set up their crafts and their home goods and sell things. And it can be a cabaret style performance. We'll be doing a production of It's a Wonderful Life this season, and it'll be out in the lobby. And we had an improv show for our adults out in the lobby. But then when you open up the doors to the theater, it is a versatile space. So we have platforming that can be arranged for thrust, proscenium, in the round, and depending on the show and the vision of the director, because Created to Create, we give the directors an opportunity to just think up what could you do with this black box space and turn it into a whole new world. And every director has a new idea. So we rearrange the room according to those ideas.
And how many kids are involved so far in the program?
Oh, I think it's like 1,000.
Oh my God, 1,000! Wow! And I saw you have a really big staff too.
We do. And we just keep growing. It's been part of our business plan from the beginning. When Jesse had the vision to grow out of the studio and move into a new theater, we started to determine what comes next. We got to get a technical director and a house manager. And as we keep growing, our staff keeps growing. And a lot of our staff members are part-time, and it's a passion for them. And it's just so beautiful that the gifts that come from our staff is infused in the entire community. And so we do rely on volunteers, and we have volunteers who just makes magic happen for us inside the walls of Stand, but also out in the community at festivals and at schools. We have Red Ribbon Week coming up soon, and our professional dance team will go into schools to focus on character.
So tell me again how you got the name Stand. I don't understand that.
So in 2005, Jesse created Kid Stand with the premise that kids stand up in their faith. And she was the beginning act of VeggieTales. And back then we were good friends, and I got to see her at Grand Prairie perform, and she's jumping around the stage introducing VeggieTales. And Kid Stand, as it started to grow into not just training kids for ministry and worship, but training them for the performing arts and growing into shows and then growing into adult community theater, it just started to make its way to Stand Performing Arts Ministry. Mm-hmm. And within our ministry, we still have those going out into the community for worship and those performing community shows, which is inclusive and open to everybody. And I think that everyone feels that in our space. It's a very warm vibe. And then also it's a training program. And so our Stand students are training in hip hop, because if you go to Broadway these days, you gotta know hip hop. Just outsiders alone, we gotta prepare kids for the changing scene of the Broadway venues. But hip hop and vocal performance and acting, all the different styles of acting. And so we start with creative dramatics with 3-year-olds. And I think my oldest student is almost 80 years old.
Wow. So how long have you had this dream to run a community theater?
Well, I grew up in a small town, and when I was a little kid, my dad took an old theater that existed. It was an old amphitheater, and brought members of the community together, and my mother helped with inspiring people to make the costumes and the props, and the resources in our small town were very small in terms of what you didn't have Amazon, and we weren't near a mall, and so everybody was at their home sewing and building and creating things from sustainable items. And then my father collected all the talent in town, and in the summers we would have 2 to 3 productions in our amphitheater, and that took me all the way until I moved to Texas. So I was teaching at Haltom High School for nearly 30 years, which is where I met Kelvin. He was the tech director there and a legend in his own right, with Connie Sanchez.
Yeah.
And Connie's just the woman. What would Connie do has always been my motto.
Right, mine too.
That's the way to go, and make good choices. And between Connie and Kelvin, I had the opportunity for 30 years to work with teenagers, but it wasn't just about working with kids at Haltom High School on theater. It's so much greater than that. You're preparing these kids for life, and the skills that they learn in theater benefit them in so many different ways. But we would just talk about us and talk about character and talk about choices. And the community of Haltom City benefited from what we would be doing in the theater program. And we had children's classes in the summer. And if we had a production, and we often chose productions that allowed children to be in it, then we were building our feeder system. And I could meet a child in kindergarten taking our classes, and by second grade, they're in Peter Pan, and then I've graduated them and they're off to college. And so there's just this beautiful legacy in the DFW area, and specifically where I taught at Haltom High School. But Jesse brought me on board as an advisory board member years ago to Stand, so that there was just a voice for education. And that just grew. And as Stand grew, then there was an opportunity for me to come on as the artistic director and eventually the education director. So I think I shared this dream with Jesse, but it's always been part of my family and all part of my life, that community is it's just essential to who we are.
So I think I can show you what might be the best 17 seconds of your working life.
Okay.
Let's see that. Watch up there.
Okay, on the count of 3. You ready? Feel very nervous. 1, 2, 3.
All those beautiful faces, and then you landed on my mom and dad at the end.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful. That room is filled with so much promise.
Yeah.
That room is filled with people from all walks of our staff's lives. I mean, I was looking up at the stage, and there was little AJ Hooper, and he and his mom have been with the theater since so early on, and Shannon, who was there from the very beginning, and her children grew up in that theater. But then just surrounding us were so many artisan staff members and artisan performers who were looking for a home. And my goodness, that was a room full of beautiful human beings.
I'm glad you liked it.
It was such a gift for you to be there that day.
My pleasure.
You know, Dave, I went to their production of Into the Woods, and it was as good as any community theater production I've ever seen. In fact, I enjoyed it better than some of the plays, and I go to a lot of plays in New York.
Yep.
And it was a much better production than some of the plays I've seen in the past in New York. They got a really strong central group. They got some really strong, fine community actors. It's those people who love the artisan theater in its heyday will really love the Stand Theater now.
And we should mention that the Artisan Theater was where Amon Carter play that I wrote that you star in first had its debut in May of 2019, right?
Yes.
That's right.
So, Renee, how come you picked our play to be part of your stellar lineup?
Well, I'm such a fan of the three of you. So let me say, Amon Carter is a legend in DFW, but you and Connie and Kelvin are legends to me. And when the opportunity, I think there was a day where I saw it was coming back and you were out there back on the circuit, and I said, we've got to get them here. Little did I know that you live in Keller. But this was just an obvious thing. Our community is craving all kinds of styles of theater. Theater can do so many things for people. It can entertain, theater can change lives, it can, or just improve lives, but also it can inform us. And Amon does that. Amon gives you an opportunity to learn about our history and learn about the legacy of a very human person. And even in the times when, and I love this production so much, in the times when you're laughing, you're feeling for this very raw human being. And that legacy lives on in Fort Worth. And I think that it was time for Keller to be able to experience that. And it just needed to be back by popular demand, because I am friends with so many people who would say, oh, Kelvin's doing Amon again, and I haven't gotten to see it. Well, we had a theater, so let's see it.
Well, and 1,000 kids going through your program is really the most significant part of this. So how about if we look at some slides of the production and of Amon Carter himself,
Yes.
Mr. Fort Worth, and Kelvin and I talk a little bit about him, and let's see what we got here. So Amon pretended to be a cowboy. You know, he owned the TV station, the radio station, and the newspaper in Fort Worth, and he pretended to be a cowboy because he thought that's what Easterners needed to see for Texans. So it was a ruse. He wasn't really a cowboy.
In fact, you know, Dave, he didn't really like wearing cowboy boots because they hurt his feet.
That's true.
And I'm the same way. Somebody early on said, why aren't you wearing boots in this show? I said, if I wore boots, I'd have to quit the show because they're just hard on my feet. And so Amon really, he would wear them for pictures, for photo ops, to ride on the back of the horses, but he really didn't prefer to wear cowboy boots.
Yeah, this was at a convention that he attended, and he didn't dress like that in real life, but he knew that that's what people expected of him. And oh boy, now who's that woman named?
That is Sally Rand, the world's most famous tease girl or stripper. When she came to Fort Worth, you know, Billy Rose knew about her from his days in vaudeville and up in New York. And so to cause a spectacle, to draw attention away from Dallas and to Fort Worth, he hired Sally Rand, and she came to Fort Worth for the Fort Worth Frontier Centennial. And they built, right, you know where Casa Manana is, and the whole stockyard area is where the original Centennial was. And on that site, they built the Nude Ranch, and Sally and her girls would perform over there. And tickets were 25 cents each, and they couldn't keep them out. Yeah, so many people. Oh, there is one of the, well, that's the actual Casa Manana original program there from the Texas Centennial.
1936, and notice the nudity on the cover. I mean, come on, man. What are we talking here? Now, that's the sign that Amon Carter bought to put outside the Dallas Fair Centennial. It said, come to Fort Worth for Wild and Whoopee, 45 minutes west, and a neon sign that just drove the Dallas people crazy. And, of course, the stadium at TCU is named after Amon Carter Stadium, and that's when it was built, before they built the new upper levels on it. And he liked to drink, and sometimes when he drank, he got a little wild, and here he was doing a jig at a football game in front of thousands of people. You know, not many newspaper publishers are capable of that kind of activity. Oh, there's Sally when she was doing her bubble dance, right?
Yeah.
And so we played a game. We took a cardboard cutout of Amon, and brought him to some modern Fort Worth places just to have some fun with him. And there he is down. Oh, and there's when WBA TV wasn't on, which was a lot of time, because in the first few years they only did a few hours. That would be the holding pattern. And you can see it says Star Telegram and WBAP and Channel 5. Those were his three.
You know, Dave, when we started the show, one of the most amazing things to me was meeting Bobby Wygant, who was hired, who knew Amon Carter Sr., and of course knew Amon Jr. very well. And she lived to be, I think, about 95 years old. And she was a fan of the play, fan of Amon. and thought the story was extremely moving. She has a quote on our website, and she was just such a class act, such a neat person.
She was the NBC5 reporter.
Yeah.
And she loved your performance. I wanted to show, this is how I wrote the play. I couldn't have done it without a wall. So I had all the different scenes, laid out and moving around. And that's me finishing the play in Canyon Lake in the Hill Country back in 2018. And that's the first reading of the play with you. And there's Connie Sanchez, the director, on the left. And I know what you were thinking. You were thinking, how am I going to memorize a 60-page script?
When Rick asked me to perform as this show, I thought, I don't think I can do that. I just don't think I could learn all that. And I would just take a little bit every day and learn it and then go back and add and add. And so now when I direct a play, which I'm doing, I'm not going to say what play it is, at the Stand Theater this next year, but the tables are turned. Connie directed me and Amon. I'll be directing Connie in this show. I have very little tolerance for people who don't know their lines.
So when we go to Stand, we'll be doing performances number 67, 68, 69, and 70. And you've done all 70 performances, which is incredible. And there's no understudy.
No understudy.
Knock on wood, baby.
It was sometimes pretty scary, when you're not feeling good that early that week.
These pictures were taken just a couple of weeks ago when we performed the play in Bowie, Texas, where Amon Carter's hometown was. And I love these pictures because they capture the different emotions that you display in the. People have no idea. This is not really a one-man play because you have all these imaginary characters floating around.
Well, I always say it's kind of like a two-person play because every audience member is a part of the show.
Right.
I mean, we break that fourth wall, and people in the audience actually become part of the show.
There you are.
Uh-huh. Oh, what was her name? Was it Betty? I think. Yeah, Betty. She got a big kick out of being a major character in our show.
And there's the hat, the famous Amon Carter hat that you use as a time machine to go back and forth. I always am fascinated with time travel. So when I wrote the play, I had you become a time traveler, and the hat is the key to enter the warp world where you can go back and to the 20s, the 50s, the 40s, the 30s. And that's the painting. Oh, I think that's the painting in the Fort Worth Club, but it looks like a photograph too. Oh, and that's the mausoleum that you like to visit whenever you can before you perform, right?
Yeah, I have visited on many occasions, and Amon Jr.'s there, and Ruth is there below. But
his daughter.
He and his third wife, Minnie, are inside his mausoleum over there at Greenwood, and it's up on a hill. And I always just ask Amon to bless our efforts whenever we do our show. I mean, it's just kind of a...
Well, it's working because we have some big plans to announce in the future that we're working on. We're the bonus play for Theater Arlington when they unveil their new season in January, and we're looking forward to that. These pictures were courtesy of these two university libraries, and we really appreciate the librarians who helped us put all this together. And that's our official portrait poster. You can see the quotes there. Bobby Wygant, NBC5, extraordinary performance, extremely moving. And that's my book. That the play, it's the companion for the play. And I love that, So that's what we've got coming to Stand, and we're really looking forward to it. And let's see, what else do I want? I wanted to promote your gala on October 9th, and I just bought my tickets yesterday. Excuse me.
Oh, thanks,
So
Dave.
we're set. My wife and I
so
are
glad you'll
coming.
be there.
Yep. These are what they look like.
We'll be selling the tables and the tickets until this coming Monday, September the 22nd. And then the seats will close.
Right, because you're going to run out of space. Yeah.
Amon Carter created this foundation from his oil money. And the foundation has given out over $800 million to Fort Worth. And a lot of that money has been spent on the arts. He's supported the symphony. He's supported lots of the theaters, Stage West. He's supported many, many theaters over the years and their buildings and their construction. And it's so important to have a vibrant art scene. And this stand is going to help Keller reach a new level. And I'm really proud that it's happening here in Northeast Tarrant County. And I highly suggest if any Keller people are out there who love the arts, give Stand a try, because it's really going to be a dynamic theater. It has a dynamic space, one of the largest stages in Tarrant County. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it used to be part of a church, which is next door, and it's space they don't need anymore. Right? So Kelvin has really been remarkable in this, because he admits he did not know much about Amon Carter, except a lot of stuff was named after him. But he has immersed himself in the history of this man and the times that he lived,
Yes.
to the point where he knows more about Amon than I do, which is, I don't think you find that in theater where the actor knows more than the playwright.
That's such an honor to you.
He corrects me, which is great. But, we can't emphasize enough how having a theater in Keller is a big deal, because Keller has always wanted to be a destination city. And it really hasn't had a big draw. But when you have 1,000 kids coming through with their parents, that's going to rub off on restaurants and all the different amenities that Keller has. So this is a really big deal to have a theater in Keller. And I'm really excited that we get to perform our play there. So thank you, Renee, and please tell Jesse and everybody else back how appreciative we are of your
will.
helping us.
Thank you.
So I guess, folks, we'll see you next time. I've got some good shows. This is the Dave Lieber Show, episode number 5. And thank you, Andrew, our producer. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.